Awesome.
Hey, Kevin.
So just thinking in terms of, you mentioned about birds being analogous to angels/demons, depending on their inclination.
Yeah, that's right.
And we also see kind of that happening with the stars as well. But we see that the sun, moon, and the stars are part of the creation account.
Yep.
And so, in terms of, what are your thoughts on the pre-Adam existence of sun, moon, and stars, or did the earth, was it just sitting there?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's very interesting that God creates light, but then he actually creates the sun, moon and stars on the fourth day. Creates the light on the first day. So the light's just kind of, where is it? Well, it's just there.
Well, you also jumped out at me, you also made reference to speed of light, makes reference to time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious that there be light, time, stretching. I'm just stretching it here a little bit. I would say somehow it's connected.
Well,
maybe.
time came, I think, when the planets came, because everything about time is based on rotation of the moon around the earth and the earth around the sun.
That's
so until the planets start moving, there's really no such thing as time.
No measurement of time.
Right, yeah, there's no means to measure it, yeah. So
the account in Genesis 1:2, you can read it on a number of levels, reading about as 6 literal days and the 7th day, which I agree with, but also as epochs of 1,000 years, and in each one he's doing stuff. I don't understand the whole light and then basically the sun, moon and stars are holders of the light, but the light exists beforehand. Perhaps at the very least that light is Yeshua. The Jews have Kabbalists have a concept called the Or HaGanuz, the hidden light. And when I see them talking about it, I go, I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Yeshua. You can't see it, can you? And no, they can't. But we can. So are we of a higher order than they? And I would say yes. But there's going to be a time when they can see. And the full complement of Jews are part of the Church of the Firstborn and all the rest of it. But where those luminaries fit in, I don't know.
Well, but you had a good, this is my segue to my other question, because he just said it, so I want to capitalize on it. So you have in your other talk that the next step is regathering of the 10 tribes of Ephraim into Eretz Zaphon, the land of the north.
As I understand it.
Right. And then but simultaneously to that, or concurrently with that, you would have Eleazar the priest being raised from the dead. In other words, the Levitical priesthood for Judah in the land.
Yeah, I think that God's going to raise up the priesthood, but I'm not sure. It seems to be when Yeshua brings Ephraim to the wilderness in John chapter 11, and that as soon as I read that, I go, wilderness of the people. It says that in the scriptures, I'll bring them to the wilderness of the people. And I go, so when does that happen? I think that, as I understand it, the reconciliation between the two houses is going to happen after once they're in the North Country.
Right.
Does Yeshua send? Do we go to the wilderness of the people before we get to the North Country, or do we go after we've gone to the North Country? I just still have to check that out. But if I know that, then I can know when Judah is reconciled through Lazarus, because he sends Lazarus to Judah first before he goes to the wilderness of the people. I imagine that it's still a way off yet, but I may be wrong. And I'd rather be wrong.
I guess what I'm thinking is if we are regathered to the north ahead of that, which stands to reason.
Yeah.
Because if Judah is going to join Ephraim in the North Country to be reconciled, then Ephraim has to already be in the North Country, which means Judah is not in the North Country, which to me means Judah would be in the land.
Yes.
And if Judah is in the land, is Eleazar the priest going to be raised from the dead, so to speak, and they would have their sacrifices going and have the temple up in operation during that time. While we're up in the north, will Judah be doing its thing in the south?
That's a good question. I know they're pushing to get this temple, but of course they reject the cornerstone, don't they? And the Masons and the Mormons and all that will be very keen to help them out. And the Holy Mother of Harlots, the Catholic Church, she'll be happy. Because as long as they deny Yeshua, because I mean the core of Catholicism is now really entrenched in idol worship.
But I could see where they could make a new menorah. I could see where they could make brazen altar, laver. I could see where they could have an altar of the incense, and I could see the table of the showbread, and they could have the best tasting bread and the Holy Lamb brought up there every week for Shabbat. How are they going to do that without the Ark of the Covenant?
I don't know that the Ark of the Covenant is actually necessary for the operation of the temple, because they had a temple operating without it in the past.
Okay.
119 Ministries just endorsed a video release yesterday for the people who followed and unveiled the copper scroll, to be able to go, and they've pretty much found and did some mineral testing and all this, and there's actually some concrete sealed up over the cave. So now more than ever is there an idea that they found the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay.
So just interesting. 119 Ministry says, let's gather together and pray for this to be released. So.
Well, and I guess, your point is that the Ark of the Covenant may not be required, because it does say that the Antichrist, or he stands in the holy place. It doesn't say in the Holy of Holies.
That's right.
So he stands there where the menorah and the showbread is.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. That's something that stood out to me too. So it doesn't say Kadosh Kadashim, it doesn't say Holy of Holies, it just says holy place. So I assume that's just, where you say, yeah.
And where I'm going with all this is I'm trying to reconcile in my head what is going to be the relationship for the next phase of this between Judah and Ephraim.
I think, I personally think we've got a bit of history to get through before we get to that bit.
Yeah.
I think we've got to get out of the United States and Australia, and I'm not saying all of the lost tribes are going to the North Country, because they're also brought in from other places, but there's going to be a lot of the lost tribes brought to this North Country. As I understand that's around the area basically where Laban was, up around that area.
Like a
where Jacob got his brides from, and
Eliezer.
Wow. Yeah, he went to Rebecca. Same area. So same area.
And you just
that's good. No, it's not Samaria actually. So I've got a picture of that one on a other slide. I can bring that up for other people while you're talking about that. Where is that timeline? I see. Where are we? Was there another question there?
Yeah, Giselle had one.
Yeah. Far away.
Well, I had one, but now I have two after I heard.
All right.
You have two more? Okay.
And they're not questions, they're statements.
All right. Well, that's even better. That means I don't have to do anything.
Well, you were talking about the heavenly bodies. How could there be light without the heavenly bodies?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay.
The sun, moon, and stars.
Right.
Not talking about the supernova.
Right. When you consider that the word light could also mean goodness,
Yep.
something that's light,
It's
and
not
then
Tennessee, no. Sorry, I didn't know that. Calling on. Carry on. Yeah.
the opposite of that would be dark, meaning evil.
Yep.
That has nothing to do with sun, moon, and stars. But
Sorry, what? Sorry, say that again. I just was multitasking. I can't multitask. So that last sentence.
and I'm not very good at speaking.
Yeah.
I have these thoughts in my head, but I don't always verbalize them well.
Yep. That's cool.
Okay, so if light came before the heavenly bodies
Yep.
that reflect light.
Yeah, that's
well,
right. That hold the
some
light.
of them are
Luminaries,
inherently light,
Yep.
such as the sun.
Yeah.
But the moon, without the sun, would not be reflecting. It would not be a luminary body
Yeah.
because it's not luminescent.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, he made the light, meaning that he made the aspect of being good,
Yep.
something that is good, and the dark, meaning
The bad.
the bad or the evil.
That's the way I tend to look at that whole stuff. I don't get wrapped up too much in the physical. When I'm actually reading it, I'm kind of going straight to a woman's mind, I must admit. I go, sorry, but basically I go, this isn't just talking about mechanics. It's actually talking about relationship, and it's actually talking about the sun, moon and stars represents Jacob and his mother, read Joseph's dream.
Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, so I automatically think of the holders of the light being the good guys, and the Cholshek being the bad guys, the darkness being the bad guys. When I look at the darkness was upon the face of the deep, well, the face is the deep that's related to something bad. Okay, so sorry. When I read it, I don't get too wound up in the physical side of things. I'm automatically thinking about, because God's all about relationship. He's not about. When you read the Bible, it's a book about relationships. It's not actually a book about, how to build the universe. Although I bet you it's all in here actually, but it doesn't seem to be that he's actually talking in terms of cookie cutter how to build the solar system. He seems to be talking about much more than that, and that's the bit that I kind of plug into. And so I don't give it a whole. I just have a big question mark. How did the light get from day 1 and cross over to day 4? What was going on in the middle, and how do you know a day and a night if you don't have the sun, moon and stars to orchestrate it all? And I just put all that in the too hard basket while I think about other things at the moment. But it's a good question, because I bet you there's a logical explanation for it. Right?
So when Yeshua says, I am the light of the world, he's the goodness of the world.
Yes.
He's not necessarily the light coming from this light bulb up above my head.
No, that's right. And I think that's what, as I said, the rabbis have the concept of the hidden light. And it's only hidden to the darkness. The light shineth in the darkness, but the darkness, Cholshek, didn't comprehend it. You tell some people the gospel, they tell the truth, and of course we don't know who the darkness is. Some people are just asleep. They're not, and God wakes them up in that time. But other people are the darkness, and you can share if the cows come home, but they'll never get it. So darkness has a face. It has many faces, and they're in this world. They're of the darkness. They're cut off from the light, but we can receive it. So this is the sun, moon, and stars are right down here. You could say, I'm just being metaphorical, and the darkness is down here. This world, even though it's light and there's light coming off the screen, this world is a world of darkness, and we're the light, and Yeshua is that light within us. So he's that hidden light that was created in day 1, if you like. And we are the holders of the light, the sun, moon and stars, so to speak. We're the stars of the sky for multitude. We're the sons of the living God. And we are the ones that are the luminaries. And that big thing up there is just that's just the whole big universe. It's there to populate and just, I'd love to have a spaceship and zoom around and this, but that's just there. That's just an outward expression of what is going on down here. I mean, that's the way I tend to think about things a little bit. So I tend to think that maybe the sun, moon and stars are us, in some respects, and the darkness is the face of the deep. It's the bad guys that just can't get it, and because they're not meant to get it. So I still can't answer the question about the physical universe, but I think I can understand it about the spiritual universe.
Like I said, I was making a statement in answer to your question about the light.
Well, it's interesting that when God next in part of Genesis, where he talks about sun, moon and stars, he's talking about mum, dad and the kids. He's not talking about building solar systems, as I said. So it's obvious to me, even the language, the face of the deep, the face of the waters, the face of this and the face of that, it's all people. It's anthropomorphic.